So I was trying to kill the new unnamed peasant for a while now, and it honestly looked like something out of the back rooms. When you looked at it in just the right way, you could see him, but at other times he was completely invisible. And when I fought him, this is what happened. I would take some units such as some halflings, and then I would put a bard over here. And when the unnamed peasant would go to attack, he would completely spaghettify the halflings. I was shocked. How could he do this totally accurate battle simulator units? And no matter how many halflings I put on the battlefield, the unnamed peasant would suck them in like a black hole and spaghettify them like a backrooms monster. It was disgusting to see, not to mention this trap ability not letting anything escape. He was an immortal monster, and I needed to find a way to defeat him. I tried sending a normal army of knights and squires at it, but it just spaghettifies everything. I mean, it's hard to see on a good day, and as soon as it starts to attack, it just becomes invisible. And it turns even catapults into little Lego machines. So I tried adding even more units. We're talking about a massive amount of units. Even woolly mammoths, lots of them. Even when I did this, the armies were wiped out so quickly. I don't know what happens to a creature when it's turned into black goo, but I'd rather not know, not gonna lie. No matter how hard I tried, no matter the size of the army, they all continued to be destroyed. Even a pile of Manny the Mammoths became black spaghetti. So I tried to get a little creative. I thought to myself that maybe some ballistas combined together could knock it off the map. So I filled an entire side of the battlefield in ballistas. No, seriously, I even put them on top of the buildings. I was hopeful that this was going to work, but it was quickly evident that this was a waste of time. The unnamed peasant completely ignored everything, though it was cool to watch it walk around and decimate this entire army. And when the ballista bolts all fired, my god, all hell broke loose. But the unnamed peasant didn't even care. But don't worry, I wasn't out of ideas yet. I had more than a few new things that could be thrown at the unnamed peasant. He was strong, but he wasn't immortal. Or so I thought. I tried throwing some modern technology at it, but that proved to be pointless. I mean, it was a gorgeous sight, but it was completely a waste of time. The unnamed peasant was in there, amongst the tanks, and it did not care. Though for some reason, the tanks didn't turn into spaghetti that quickly, but it did leave their drivers kind of floating in the sky. Yeah, the tanks proved to be no match for the unnamed peasant. But we were here in the legacy world, and I wasn't ready to give up. Perhaps an army of wizards could crowd control the dark peasant into immobility. I tried, and we did manage to send the dark peasant flying, the new unnamed peasant flying high into the sky. But he quickly fell back down and slowly, one by one, killed the wizards. Though it was funny to see the unnamed peasant be launched into the sky over and over and over. But the wizards, even with their crowd control, were going to stop the unnamed peasant from eventually falling and one by one killing all the wizards. Though I honestly did get a kick out of watching it bounce up and down, back and forth. Yep, that is a lot of spaghettified wizards, and up there is a living unnamed peasant. If the wizards weren't going to do it, I thought that maybe the super peasant could pull it off. I watched as the super peasant swam into battle, and by swam I meant fly into battle, but no, even the super peasant was turned into black spaghetti. Well, fine, I thought. What about multiple super peasants? They all lunged into battle, swarming, and were all swiftly dispatched. So I thought, how about some more super peasants? More than 50 super peasants swam at the unnamed peasant, launching off in every single direction, but the unnamed peasant did not care. So I went all the way. I summoned the dark peasant to fight the unnamed peasant, pretty much evil versus evil. And using the dark hands of God, the unnamed peasant was lifted into the sky, but it did not matter. The dark peasant was spaghettified. So I was starting to run out of ideas. So I grabbed some gods. Not just any gods, we were talking Hades, Artemis, Apollo, Ares, Thor, Odin. Maybe these gods in totally accurate battle simulator could have pulled it off. It was an intense fight with new effects going in every single direction, but the unnamed peasant was completely unfazed. I did not know that a god of tabs could look like something out of the back rooms, but I learned something that day. Then I had a crazy idea. I grabbed a small army of chronomancers and a small army of void monarchs. Maybe this was enough to defeat the unnamed peasant. I was hopeful, but watching all the units get sucked in was not good. The Unnamed Peasant made short work of the gods of the good and evil realm. I thought they stood a chance, and clearly I was wrong. Then I thought to myself, what about Miraculous? Take this good god with all of its good energy, and I hoped it could defeat this evil god with all of its evil energy. I knew Miraculous was strong, but I didn't know how strong in comparison to the Unnamed Peasant. And clearly with the red victory, the Unnamed Peasant was too powerful. So instead, I tried the God Slayer. I was hopeful, I was praying, but I was quickly disappointed. A red victory declared the Unnamed Peasant as the victor. So I grabbed the big guns. I grabbed Billy, hero of Tabs, with his powerful gauntlet that can destroy all space and time. But even Billy was no match for the spaghettification of the Unnamed Peasant. All that was left was his magical sword. So I escalated. I escalated more than you could possibly imagine. I went all the way up to One Punch Man Saitama himself. Could Saitama defeat the Unnamed Peasant? Could anything stop this creature? But apparently, it wasn't possible. Saitama was trapped. Saitama was locked in an epic battle of death, but he could not defeat the Unnamed Peasant. One Punch Man couldn't die, but he couldn't win. And that didn't answer my question. And believe me, I let this go on for 10 minutes. Nothing won, nothing lost. It was just an endless battle of nothing. And I figured that the same thing would happen with the Seraphim, the voice of God himself. And they were locked in an epic battle for minutes after minutes. The Seraphim trying to banish the Unnamed Peasant, the Unnamed Peasant trying to spaghettify the Seraphim. My answer still had not come. Nothing can seem to defeat the Unnamed Peasant. I was getting desperate, so I went to the workshop and I typed in the word God, and I went and downloaded a bunch of your God units. Perhaps one of these could defeat the Unnamed Peasant. I know I was getting desperate, but I was getting desperate. Maybe one could win, but I was probably wasting my time. I placed the Unnamed Peasants on the battlefield and then proceeded to put the gods down as well. I didn't have much hope in this idea, but I thought you'd never know. The battle commenced and I was completely shocked. Something in there had defeated the Unnamed Peasant. The only problem is I didn't know which god did it. So I deleted all the gods and went one by one. The god of darkness fought the Unnamed Peasant and was swiftly destroyed. The god of everything was next. He fought the Unnamed Peasant and was also swiftly destroyed. The unit simply called God fought the Unnamed Peasant once again spaghettified. Then the rival to power leapt into battle to join his brethren in being destroyed. The god of halflings that I was definitely rooting for was not capable of defeating the Unnamed Peasant. That left only one god. The god of death, this creation of red and gold. Was he the one to defeat my Unnamed Peasant? The battle started and I was very nervous. Had we finally found something to defeat this new insane thing? And we had. This god created by one of you in the workshop defeated the Unnamed Peasant.